Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
I'm so pleased to have you back this Sunday. Last week you met Nicole Mitchell and Robert Vasquez, who are third-year medical students at Texas Tech University Health Science Center. And they are in their third year, which means that they're already working in the hospitals and clinics. And one of the things that they have been so interested in is diabetes and the prevention. Even though both of these are in the OBGYN specialty, they know how much diabetes affects everything, whether it's heart disease, whether it's what happens to you and you get pregnant, the genetical component, all of this that has to do with diabetes. And so we've been talking about diabetes, and we want to continue that conversation today. And last week, Robert explained how you would know from what symptoms. Nicole explained the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. But today we want to talk about that. Say that you or some member of your family has already been diagnosed with either pre-diabetes or that you've become a full-blown diabetic. And so now our first question, and this is, I think, to everybody, how often should you see your doctor?
So if you have diabetes, it is so important to keep your doctor's appointments. You at least need to see your doctor 3 or 4 times a year. It's so important because the doctor has to check your A1C level, okay, to see how you've been controlling.
And that's the sugar that's attached to your blood that tells what you've been doing in the last 3 months.
In the last 3 months. So even if your blood sugar at that moment is, let's say, 80, oh, I'm good. If we check your A1C and it's above 6.5, that means you haven't been taking your medications, you haven't been exercising, you haven't been eating well. So the A1C really tells the doctor how you've been doing in the past 3 months, okay? So they'll check your A1C. Very important to check your blood pressure, okay? Your cholesterol levels, okay? And it's also very important to get yearly eye appointments too.
Yes.
And a lot of people forget that diabetes doesn't affect the eyes, but it really does. And
but it even affects your teeth.
It affects everything. So you need to get eye appointments, your teeth appointments, dental appointments. Basically, any doctor that you can see, you need to see them at least once a year. But your main doctor, you need to see 3 or 4 times a year so we can make sure your blood pressure, your A1C, your cholesterol is all in good standing.
And the interesting thing is you should, by this time, and Robert, you've talked about this before, you should have a really close working relationship with your doctor and the nurses and everybody else that you see on a regular basis, because they will be there for you if you've got a question or if you're worried about something that's happening and you don't understand it.
Yeah, if you ever have a question, please never be embarrassed or ashamed to ask your doctor what's going on. That's our job, to explain to you what's happening in your body and how we can help you. So if no question is dumb, no question is stupid. You can ask anything you can for your doctor, and you always need to maintain good contact with them.
And another aspect, and I heard you speak about this last week, is that because diabetes affects all of your health, when you go to the doctor, they really check for everything that they normally would.
Yeah, I mean, diabetes will affect your nerves, causes a lot of nerve damage. So you can, when people have diabetes, sometimes they'll lose sensation in their feet and in their hands. It really affects the blood vessels. I think that's where it really hits the body hard. So they lose a lot of their circulation to their limbs, especially. So that's why diabetics end up getting, amputated toes, feet. It really causes a lot of damage. Aside from that, the kidney is damaged as well. And so that's the initial insult when they're urinating a lot, when they're having to use the restroom more often. It's because their kidney is being damaged. And like Nicole was saying, they need to go to the eye doctor once a year because they can be blind. They can end up blind.
And another thing, after they become a full-blown diabetic, it's much more difficult for sores to heal, and gangrene can set in those places. Am I wrong, or is that right?
That is right. That's correct, and that's because the vasculature is damaged. They're not getting circulation. They're not getting the nutrients they need there to repair and to heal, along with the nerves being damaged. And Nicole was also mentioning that they need to check their cholesterol, their blood pressure. People with diabetes have a really high risk for heart disease and for stroke. So much higher than someone who doesn't have diabetes. So if they can control their sugar, they can lessen their risk for those diseases.
And a lot of people I know I have heard say, oh, I just got diagnosed with diabetes, but I can take a shot and they've got medicine, and so it's no big deal. It is a big deal, because when you look ahead at what happens if you don't manage your health properly, you can start with having a toe cut off, and then a foot, and then a leg, and those kinds of things, plus having a stroke, and those kinds of things are so serious. You've got to take these diagnoses very seriously. Well, we've kind of talked about why it's important to keep the blood sugar close to normal, because that's why you get the nerve damage and all the other things. And so go a little bit more into why your heart is affected and why you might have strokes by this, like your blood pressure.
Right. So a lot of strokes are caused by high blood pressure. The kidney is an organ in the body that helps regulate your blood pressure as well. So if your kidneys are damaged, they're not going to be able to regulate. And then you've got so much damage throughout your vasculature that your blood pressure just goes higher and higher. So having high blood pressure will cause a lot of stress on the arteries in the brain. So that can lead to aneurysms and eventually a stroke.
And it's so you've got two insidious diseases. You've got diabetes that's doing all this damage inside you, many times without your knowing it, and then at the same time, high blood pressure is something that's insidious, because you can be having high blood pressure and not know it. Exactly.
And one of the first signs of people having high blood pressure is they get headaches. And so that's something to really watch out for. Headaches, they don't come that often. And if they do come often, especially as adults, there's usually something wrong. It's usually high blood pressure. You haven't eaten well. There are a lot of different causes of headaches, but that's one of the key signs. And that's why the doctor will ask question after question after question. And do it every time you come. Not just. We've got to take a break. We'll be back in just a minute and continue this conversation.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.